thank you everyone for coming here at the Hortus Botanicus, and especially Elizabeth Gilbert. You can enjoy this lovely high tea. And would you like to tell why we're here?
Well, we are here because this garden is a major character in this novel. And the reason that it's a major character in this novel is because I wanted to write a book about 18th and 19th century botanical exploration. And my initial intention was not to include, I didn't set out with the idea to make so much of this book have to do with the Dutch and with Holland. But the problem is, when you start to do research about 18th and 19th century botanical exploration, the Dutch are everywhere, like on every page, and the Hortus is everywhere. And eventually I decided that I had to have some major Dutch characters in my book. And so my main character, Alma, her mother's Dutch. Her father's born in England. He's born at Kew Gardens, at another botanical garden. His father works in the orchards there. And he's very poor. And he becomes one of the wealthiest men in the world through the cinchona trade. The cinchona is the plant that cures malaria. And he makes a great fortune, and he moves to Philadelphia, but not before he stops in Amsterdam. And he needs a serious, intelligent, educated, responsible woman. And he's been around the world, and he's seen everybody, and decides that the best chance for finding that kind of a solid, pragmatic, resourceful, frugal, industrious woman is to find her in Holland. So he comes and he essentially picks a flower from this garden. He takes the daughter of the curator of the botanical garden, much against the wishes of the father, and brings her to America. And they basically begin together the American pharmaceutical business, because she has so much botanical knowledge and he has botanical knowledge. They're both very good at business, and they become both husband and wife and also business partners. And then she raises her daughter to be incredibly educated, to be able to speak and read in several languages, and to be the master of the library, and she teaches her daughter science, so she becomes a very important character. And there's also another Dutch woman in the book who's the housekeeper,
Hannukah,
who she brings with her from Holland as well, who's my favorite character in the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
She's the heart. I mean, the Dutch translation is the
heart of all things.
The heart of all things. The heart of all things is Hannukah.
Ah, okay.
She's the woman who runs the household, but she's also the woman who's sort of a second mother to Alma. Alma's real mother is not a particularly warm woman. She's very strong and she's loving in her way, but she's not affectionate. And Hannukah is affectionate and reassuring, but Hannukah is also the one who, at certain very important moments in Alma's life, sits her down and sets her straight. Right? She's the only one who can tell the truth and just say, enough. It's time for you to. It's time. She puts her in her path again and again and again. So she's a really important character.
When was the first time you came here to the Hortus Botanicus?
3.5 years ago, when this book was just the shadow of an idea, and I knew only that I wanted it to be about botany and exploration. And I came here for an event with my publisher, and I took a day off and spent the entire day here. And it was the beginning of this book. And I got so many ideas just from walking around the gardens and reading everything. And one of the most interesting things is there's a tree. For those of you who have read it, at the very end of the book, I won't give anything away, but on the very last page, there's a very important tree. And it's really easy to find because it's right in front of the palm glass house. And I had a real moment with that tree 3.5 years ago, because I was wandering around the garden and I recognized it because I grew up in New England, and it's a local tree to my existence. And that tree's from Philadelphia, from Pennsylvania. And I remember I had this moment where I put my hand on the tree, and I sort of started laughing, and I said, "You and I are very, very far from home. What are we both doing here in Amsterdam?" And I wrote that line down, and it's so, I mean, I even get chills now. I knew nothing about this book, and I knew that was going to be the last line of the book.
Everything you wrote, you let everybody read.
Yeah.
Some people say, some writers say, no, don't. I just, when I'm finished,
yeah,
I'm just gonna show you.
I'm like this. Hey, it's Christmas, I have writer friends who won't talk about
exactly
their work. And I actually saw a TED talk where a sociologist said that that's a very good idea, that you should not talk about your work or your projects or your ideas, because there's some weird thing that happens in your mind where if you talk about what you want to do, your mind believes that you're actually doing it. And you can trick yourself into thinking that you're making progress because you're talking about it, when in fact the only way to make progress is to do it. But I actually find that it generates a lot for me to talk about it. If I tell you about the book that I'm working on, as I'm talking to you, I'm getting more ideas. As I'm seeing your reaction, I'm getting more ideas. So I do better kind of circulating.
Okay, so how does it feel when you finish the novel? As well with the memoir, Eat, Pray, Love. When it's finished, can you let it go easily, or
well,
does it hurt?
Yes and yes, both. You know, I have to be honest. The last 20 pages writing this book, I went away from my house and I wrote it in solitude, and I could barely see the computer screen because I was weeping the entire end of this book, because I didn't want to say goodbye to Alma, because she's so dear to me, and we had spent 4 years together, you know, and I was taking her through her entire life. It's a birth to death book, so I know her so well, and I was so proud of her. I was so proud of what she had made of her life, you know. I was so proud of her resilience and her passions and her knowledge, and you know, it was painful. Like, I was sobbing, and I remember calling my husband when I wrote the last page. I was like, "She's gone! She's gone! Ah, she's gone!" But you have to. She can't live unless you let her go. So I think, in that regard, I'm not a mother myself, but I imagine it's very similar to the day that you send your child to school. You know, like, you have to. Like, they can't stay at home with you forever. You have to let them go in the world and become what they need to become. Yeah. So there's been something really beautiful about watching her enter the world and become part of people's hearts and other people's lives as well. But it was hard to let go of her.